Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs Podcast. And Ryan, the good news is the Cubs can't hurt us again today. How many straight days since the Cubs didn't hurt us? I lost count.
Yeah. It's been a while.
You can follow me on Twitter, Cody _CHGO, Ryan _A_ Herrera.
There you go.
I can't talk. I'm taking Luke Stuckmeyer's spot again today. 2 straight days.
Cody Del Stuckmeyer.
Yeah. Big of me, credit to me. But we're also joined by longtime friend, Cubs prospect, Max Bain. He's been on the show, this is like the 3rd or 4th time?
3rd or 4th time.
I've lost count.
I think it'd be 4th if you include the surprise guest appearance at spring training.
That's fair.
I think you're right,
yeah. Thanks for joining us, man. It's always good to catch up with you. How you been?
I've been great, man. I want to thank you guys for having me on today, but I've been great. I've been home for, I believe, exactly a month now, and I'm enjoying life, man. We're getting after it this offseason. I get a little bit of extended time, given that the season did end a month ago. But, yeah, man, everything's good. Everything's great.
Awesome. Well, there's so much that I feel like I want to ask, and I don't want to ask it all at once. And I know I have that problem because I get all over the place. And again, I'm sitting here in place of Luke Stuckmeyer, who is very good at organization and all of that stuff. So I'll try not to veer off on all these different tangents. So I guess for anyone who's listening or watching the show right now, first off, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We do, even in the off season, we do shows 5 days a week for an hour each day. So if you're new here, know that. But if you don't know Max, I've known Max for what? This is like 3 or 4 years now that I've known you, since I think we met first time remotely in 2020. So 3 years, if we're mathing correctly. This year, you started the year on developmental list. You were an independent ball guy who got signed undrafted, I believe, and you had your stints in South Bend, made it up to Double-A. Then this past year, you started the year on the developmental list, and then went back to South Bend. So that's a little bit of a summary of your tenure with the Cubs for people who don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess to bring it around, how do you feel about your season, considering most of it was on the developmental list? You're in Arizona, then ended the year in South Bend.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot this season. I don't think the numbers I put up in South Bend are really reflective of the performance. I went into my last 3 outings rocking like a 4 ERA, which isn't the best, but like I was having a pretty good year. I was making the most out of some situations where maybe I didn't pitch the best, but I really felt like I turned a corner in those last few outings. I was starting to feel healthy again, which was massive. I pitched about 8 weeks, hurt this year, just trying to grind through some stuff. But like I said, really turned a corner there towards the last 3 outings, and I thought I threw the ball really well. And we had an outing in Fort Wayne where, unfortunately, Brody McCullough went down, in a rundown with a guy at second, and I had to come into the game. I warmed up on the game mound, and first time I've ever done that in my career. Came out filling up the zone, and I think over an inning and a third or something like that, I gave up like 4 hits. One of them was a homer, but out of the 4 hits, 3 of them were on balls out of the zone. And it was like I was making good pitches. I was doing what I wanted to do on the mound. The results just weren't coming. And even the following time out, I went in like a 10-run game and got the 9th inning. Came out firing, was throwing the ball hard, throwing well. I was like 94, 95 up to 6, and I gave up 3 hits that day that I think averaged out to about 38 miles an hour off the bat. So there were things that were happening that I didn't catch the greatest luck there at the end of the year. But in terms of the things that I can control, I really felt like I turned a corner at the end of the season. As for the Devilists at the start of the year, I think we're seeing the impact of, having such a talented system. I can't speak highly enough about the guys that I get to play with, especially the guys I got to play with in South Bend. That was a ton of fun this year, and I got to create some new friendships with guys I really haven't gotten to play with a lot in the past, and was really grateful for that. But I think when you have so much talent, there are always going to be some guys that are kind of on the outside looking in sometimes, and that was me at the end of spring training. I had that outing in the big league game that didn't go great, and would love to have that one back. Even though I'm going to take it for now that I did strike out James Outman. My bad. But that kind of trickled into the rest of spring, and I didn't really leave them with an option to send me out at that time, and that's something I got to do better at. But going through the summer, I came out with I was throwing really well on the dev list. I was back up to 98. Like I was pitching well. I was throwing the changeup more. I was doing a lot of things really, really well. And on the day I was supposed to get sent out, I came in with some low back pain and a shoulder impingement too. And that caused me to miss some time, started rehabbing again, had a couple flare-ups, and really stuff that just lingered throughout the summer. So it was a real battle just to get on the field. And when I felt like I had the opportunity to do so, I wasn't gonna lose that. Even if I wasn't at 100%, like I was dying to go compete. So I took what I had to South Bend and made the most out of the opportunity. Getting to work with Clayton Mortensen was outstanding. He's been one of my he's a very, very, very good pitching coach, and I think he really understands the player relationships as well as the player development side of things too. So there were a lot of good things to take from this year, despite the jersey I was wearing or the numbers I put up. I think there's a lot more to it than what just lies on the surface.
Real quick, since we're talking about the developmental list, our friend
Sure.
in the chat, Gary Ross, he asked what it is and if you could give more details on it. So, I was just going to ask for our listeners or our friends in the chat right now that maybe are just a little unaware of what exactly the developmental list is. Could you give some details, like just in general, what it's for, and what the developmental list looked like for you this season?
Yeah, so I think it's a great way. It's a great way for teams to get guys out of the game environment for a while to really hone in on some stuff. For me, I think a lot of it was for changeup usage and really just getting the feel or getting the confidence again to really go back out and compete with a certain amount of like reckless abandonment almost. Just go out there, you lay it all on the line and compete with what you have instead of trying to be somebody you're really not. So the dev list for us, I don't know how it works for other orgs, but for us, the dev list typically means more often than not, you're going to be sent to the complex out in Mesa, which during July and August, not exactly the most fun place to be. But you get to go out there. Your days are structured a little bit differently. In season at an affiliate, your days are probably from, depending on what time you get to the ballpark. For me, that's like noon, 12:30 to about 10:30 at night. And when you're on the dev list, you're probably in the building at 8:30 in the morning, and you're probably done for the day. On your heaviest day, you're probably done by like 1 o'clock, and that rest of the time is yours to kind of get your head away from the game. So I think it's a really useful tool, both from the physical and mental side of things. So yeah, we have some really good coaches down there too. I got to work with TC this year down in AZ. He was my pitching coach in South Bend in 21. So that familiarity was nice as well.
I love that you mentioned about the mental side because correct me if I'm wrong, but when you got to AA in Tennessee at the beginning of last year, correct? Yeah. Things didn't exactly go well for you, and I think there was an injury involved as well.
Yep.
So
Carson Wentz.
Yeah. So that's a good comparison.
There you go.
So for you to go to the development list after, struggling, because going into that season, I felt like you had shown really good strides at South Bend or in high A or just, at that level. And I felt really excited for you when you got to double A. And then again, things just didn't go as you had hoped with not only the results, but injuries. So the mental side of just being able to do what they need you to do, as far as the physical stuff, but then getting away from the game, like you said, for the rest of the time, how much do you feel like that helped you to where you're not just pressing? Because I feel like a lot of people don't realize, prospects or just athletes in general, when they get to the professional side, most of them didn't really have any struggles throughout their, whether it's high school, college, whatever. They just didn't struggle, right? And that can affect you mentally when you start to see struggles and you don't know how to change that, right? Yeah. So how did the development list help you mentally, just be able to focus on what you need to focus on when you need to, and get away at the same time?
Yeah, I think going back to Tennessee, I think I got to the point, I was pitching through injuries and whatnot, but the way I was compensating onto the mound made it really hard for me to throw strikes. And I convinced myself that I wasn't capable of doing that. I wasn't capable of going out there and throwing strikes. So every time I was out there, it was like I was trying to make up the last outing that I had. And that's a really, really tough spot to be. As you saw how my year progressed, it didn't exactly, like you said, didn't really go well. But, oh man, where was I going with that? I think too, when you get away from the game like that, I think what happened is I finally got to the realization in terms of like shifting my approach to the game. When I was in Tennessee, and even earlier in the year, going back to spring training, I think there are like key performance goals that are set, that are very very result based, and not all of those are in your control. There are some things like the amount of times you're in the zone, the amount of strikes you're throwing, or your non-competitive rate, like that type of stuff. I think that stuff is well within your control, but there's some stuff that's not, where you're looking at K to walk or overall K percentage or average exit velo. And when you're trying to pitch to those metrics that aren't really within your control, I think you kind of lose sight of what you're doing. So I think what really helped me this year was going back to just playing the game to play the game, realizing that I'm going to get strikeouts when I get strikeouts. I'm going to give up ground balls when I give up ground balls. And that stuff just kind of happens. It's all a result of the process that goes into the game itself. So those things just kind of happen. And that made it a lot easier for me, to accept some of the outings I had. There were times where like I would go 2 innings and maybe I gave up 4 fly balls to deep outfield or a couple hard hit balls. But if I put up 2 scoreless, I walk away from that outing feeling way better if I'm not concerned about all the other stuff. At the end of the day, I still put up 2 scoreless. And, whether it's really good or really bad, I think context loses its value really quickly. I think that made the game a lot easier for me this year, or a lot easier to digest mentally, that is. And at the end of the day, man, like, when it comes down to like what jersey you're wearing, like obviously I went from high A to double A and back to high A, and that's really not the trend anybody really wants to see, right? Like it's not a secret. Nobody wants to get promoted to come back down, but as long as you're wearing a jersey, you get to go play baseball games and you get to go compete, and you're still in the same system that still believes in you if they're giving you a jersey. So, yeah, man, just like I said, just shifting the focus back to just playing the game to play the game made life a lot easier for me.
Shift for you since, what was it, last June-ish, was like full-time relieving versus starting games. It's been over a year, but just how has that transition been for you after starting almost exclusively your first year and like your senior year of college? And I know the 2020 season was interrupted that a little bit, but going from starting to exclusively relieving and the mentality that if it changes in either of those roles.
Yeah. I think I think the bullpen role is kind of what I was prepared to do in 21. And not that I'm not grateful for the opportunity to start, but I really enjoyed that part of my career. That year in South Bend was outstanding, right? But I think the bullpen role is more what I was built for when I came in. When I was 97 to 100 or 99, I guess 99.8, I never actually touched 100. I'm not going to be that guy.
Credit to you.
But that role is really kind of what I was prepared for. 2-3 innings, let it go eat, throw your stuff as hard as you can, nothing but confidence, just attack hitters. So I think that role does suit me a little bit better going forward. Now the goal is to get back into the physical, I don't want to say shape because I feel like that's revolves so much around like your body comp. But for me, it's like the throwing shape, right? Where I want to be that guy again, where I'm upper 90s and I'm throwing stuff really hard, and good luck, go hit it. Like, some guys are going to get me sometimes, most of the time they're probably not. I feel like I've had stints where I haven't had my best stuff, and I've held teams to like 150 batting average against, and that's really cool. Like, that only gives me more confidence that when I'm where I want to be physically, the sky's kind of the limit,
Yeah. So with that, and I kind of like look at it with someone like Adbert Alzolay on the Cubs major league team, who's been a starter in the past.
Yeah.
But that he has kind of a mentality where rather than starting and having to going into the game thinking like I gotta spread it out and make sure I can get innings covered, he only has to go and he can go 100% right away just to get a save or an inning now. So is there a benefit in that for you as far as just like not having to figure out how you can spread yourself over 6+ innings versus like you can just come in and attack right away?
Yeah, I think it boils. So I think a big part of it's what you're talking about, but I also think the second layer of it is that I'm not worried about beating guys twice, right? All I have to do is go in and throw my best stuff, right? Versus righty versus lefty, I know how I want to attack that certain hitter. I'm not exactly concerned with the name in the box. I'm concerned with what I want to throw. And I know that if I do that to the best of my ability, more often than not, I'm going to get the result that I'm looking for, whether it's weak contact or a strikeout or just something where, man, I won that AB. So, I think Adbert's a great example. Obviously I've played with and gotten to watch from afar Palencia as well. He kind of went through that same shift this year too. And seeing how he was able to, Palencia specifically, but like seeing how he was able to simplify his mix and really apply it at the big league level and still have that reckless abandonment I'm talking about, where he's still pumping 100, 101. Like that's exciting stuff. That kind of gives me an outlook in terms of like what I would like to do with my career as well.
The Cubs major league team, there was a lot of growth this year, right? I remember texting you.
Absolutely.
I was texting you in the middle of the year about, I think you actually texted me about one particular player, and then we started talking about, just the excitement, not only on the major league team, but in the system. And we saw a lot of guys get promoted, whether it's they stayed in the minors but made it up, like Cade Horton, for example, or PCA, who I believe you played with in South Bend for a little bit, or maybe
PCA?
Yeah, PCA. Didn't you play with him?
I haven't been in the same locker room as yet, no.
You haven't? Okay. Well, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. But either way, you've seen a lot of guys. You've been in the system for a while. You were in the system when people weren't talking about the system. So for you this year, who was your favorite prospect, not outside of yourself, of course, that had a ton of growth, that either made it to the Cubs or got to AAA, that maybe they started in single A and got to AAA, something like that?
So I think the easy answer is Cade, right? Cade is a dog. He's going to be there at some point. He has got the stuff. I don't think you can put a comp on him because I think a comp sets a ceiling, and I don't think he has one. But I think a guy that probably doesn't get as much attention, whether it's the role or the name or when he was drafted, is Frankie Scalzo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the name, but Frankie made some massive strides this year, went through a similar change, got his role shortened up a little bit, and was put in the back end of the pen. And, man, when he got promoted from South Bend to Tennessee, he was slinging 95, 97 with a wipeout slider. And I didn't do as good of a job as I would have liked to in terms of keeping track with how he did in Double-A, but I know for a fact that he was shoving it when he left. He was automatic in South Bend. I'm trying to think of other guys right off the top of my head. Sheldon Reed's another really fun guy to watch. Ton of carry on his fastball. Maybe doesn't have the velo that's going to be eye-popping, and he'll be the first one to tell you that. But, man, good carry, great curveball, good slider. He's an exciting arm as well. So, yeah, those three guys really, just from the pitching side, were very much fun to watch. And I got to spend some time in AZ too, with the young guys, and I think everybody at this point, or most people in tune with the system at this point, have probably heard of Jefferson Rojas. Yeah. He's a dog. He's awesome. He is outstanding. The other guy I really liked playing with out there was probably a lesser known name, but very, very talented. His name is Christian Olivo. Young middle infielder. I believe he made it to Myrtle by the end of the year. Very, very good with the glove, good bat, puts the ball in play a lot, hits the ball hard, good swing, good kid, good attitude every day. So I can't speak highly enough about those guys.
Our guy Rich Biesterfield in the chat says, great to hear the support of Frankie Scalzo. So
there you go.
Yes.
There's admittedly, I didn't know who he was because I try to follow the minor leagues as much as I can, but I can't. So I'm definitely going to give him a nice little Google search after the show.
I'll help you.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, like you said, obviously the easy answer is Cade Horton. I think you overlap by a few weeks during the summer.
Yeah, Cade's my guy. I love Cade.
Yeah, people are high on him, fans, prospect people, the ranking systems, very high on him for a guy that just didn't pitch a lot in college, and was a number 7 draft pick, I believe. So it was a pick that just you didn't really know how to feel about it. Obviously, he's done great things this year, his first year in pro ball. What was it that stood out about Cade to you, whether it's preparation or mentality or whatever it is that just makes him, when you say you don't think he has a ceiling, what makes you believe that?
He throws every pitch where he wants to throw it, and the guy throws 98. That's pretty neat. It got to the point. It got to the point, man, where when he was on the mound, it felt like we were going to win the game. That's kind of how it felt. Every time he's out there, we got a very good chance to win that game. And I think that's going to be the story for a lot of his career. So, much like Sheldon, good carry, maybe a little bit more velo. He's going to be in that upper 9s range. And he is the most humble dude. He is the most humble dude. He's not going to tell you about how he's doing. He's not going to talk about himself unless you ask him. He doesn't act like your stereotypical first-round pick, and I think that might be one of my favorite things about him. He's got this inner dog that is it is internal on the mound almost. He has it, and he just doesn't. He doesn't show everybody. He just keeps it to himself. But off the field, man, he could not be a better person.
That's great to hear. It's great to finally be able to talk to you about the system being where it's at now, because I said earlier, when we met the first time, way before I was here at CHGO, you were telling me that good times are coming within the minor league system. So for you, just watching it all play out to this point, obviously, rankings are rankings and doesn't necessarily mean everything, but for you to see the growth of the system since you got to the Cubs, just to, like you said earlier, you get to play with so many talented dudes. What do you take from a lot of those guys that are, either they're highly touted or even, guys like you who aren't getting talked enough about, or, still trying to figure out their way through the minor leagues and stuff. How have you been able to take all this and, I guess in a way appreciate it, but also know hey, we got something really brewing here.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I think we all push each other. And how much I'm talked about is kind of irrelevant right now because, to be honest with you, I probably don't deserve to be talked about, and that's cool. I've done that to myself. Like, that's not something I worry about or, stay up at night thinking about. But, I think the group of talent that we have, or the community that we've really built of really talented baseball players, is just kind of push the next guy down the line. It's like, if this guy's getting better, I'm going to be working with him, or I'm seeing what he's doing to improve himself, and how can I apply that to my game? Or, what do I see this guy's doing that maybe doesn't fit me? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's all sorts of stuff to where you're not necessarily comparing yourself to other players, because I think that's a mental death trap. And I've been there before too, but like, you're learning how to work together despite being in a situation where it's perceived as competing against the next guy. At the end of the day, like, the promotional decisions or the demotional decisions or big league additions, like, all of that stuff is out of our control, right? So all we can do is be the best that we can be, and kind of let the results play out how they're going to play out. I don't think there's much more to it.
And you've been around for most of like the time that they've like started to turn around and reinvest in the infrastructure, the pitching infrastructure and stuff.
Yeah.
Just how, for the pitching side specifically, how have you seen that evolve, and how fun is it to be now, in the system with a few years under the Cubs' belt of this revamped infrastructure and how they're doing things?
That's a good question. How have I seen it evolve? I think, how do I want to word this? I think the coolest thing is that we accept that we don't know everything. And what I mean by that is that everybody is learning on the day-to-day. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't want that to come out as a slight, because it's not. I think the more we think we know, the less we actually know. So the coaches are willing to learn, the players are willing to learn, and they're willing to take instruction or advice, whatever term you really want to put on it, and they're willing to kind of accept it and apply it to their own career. And I think you're seeing more vulnerability from players in terms of in regard to accepting instruction, right? And not to say that in 21 guys weren't bought in, because I think that's one of the things I talked about in the show actually, was just how much buy-in we had. But seeing the progress and seeing like the tangible results, right? Where you have Wicks up there dominating, you have Palencia, Luke Little, you have all these guys are, Assad. My God, that guy was so much fun to watch pitch in Tennessee. That guy was automatic. But anyway, seeing the tangible results, it just creates more and more buy-in. And I think that's the coolest thing. I think that's a good sign of a system that's really on the come up, while also being regarded by the media as one of the better systems in baseball.
Yeah. We're here with Max Bain. He's a Cubs prospect, not one that, he's not at the status of, guys like Cade Horton being talked about, but he is a friend of the show. So he is always welcome on this podcast.
That's the highest status you can have.
You could be really good at baseball. You could be a first round pick and be regarded as a top 30 prospect in baseball, or you could be the best friends with CHGO Cubs Podcast. So
what would you rather have?
What would you rather have? At the same time, I again, Max, I will always have belief, because I know that you have a very good work ethic, and you were a guy who a lot of people didn't draft, right? So right. You got a long way to go, but I'm always gonna have a big support for you, because it's just, one, you're a good dude, and two,
thank you.
I want to say that I'm friends with a guy that is on the Cubs one day that no one talked about. So I just got to be honest with you about that, man. So
I appreciate that.
Before we let you go, I have to ask you, we talked about this year a lot, but who's one prospect or one guy that you've played with that, that you're looking forward to see taking that huge step next year? Whether it's a guy who probably will still remain in the minors next year, or maybe it's a guy you think who could get on the Cubs next year. Just someone that maybe no one's really talking about, or someone that people are talking about, but not sure if he could actually get to the majors.
So I played with a guy in spring. I haven't shared a clubhouse with him yet, but I played with a guy in spring, and I was really impressed by his approach to the game, his consistency, his mental makeup, and his ability to compete in every at bat that he took. And that was BJ Murray. I think he's an outstanding player, and he's very, very well rounded. Now, like I said, I didn't get to play with him, so I don't really have much more to give you than that. But the other guy who I did get to play with, and I actually got really close with, is Felix Stevens. And Felix, I don't think he had the eye-popping average by any means, and I guess eye-popping is a relative term based on what people want to see. But the guy hit like 25 homers this year, and when he hits homers, they're like 475 feet. Like they're not hit softly. We were in West Michigan. Playing the Tigers high A team, and that place was an absolute graveyard all week. Just balls that you thought would be no doubters. We're making routine catches, not really even hitting the track. And, they got this like VIP section out in right center, and right next to it is this giant Miller Lite bottle that they've put out there. I want to say is either like a fake lighthouse or the Miller Lite bottle. Is one of the two. Felix hit the ball off the top of the Miller Lite bottle. Wow. Like right center, he went opposite field. And I think, I haven't seen the actual number from Ivy, but there's no way that ball didn't go 500 feet. Like that dude just rakes. And when he connects, he connects. So that, those would probably be the two guys I saw from like the offensive side of things that were, that I think really took like massive steps this year, but also capable of taking massive steps again next year.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. It's always good to get like your perspective on other guys as well as talk to you about what's going on with you, man.
Yeah. Well, you had a proposition for him, right?
Oh yeah. So I know
I was gonna say I got one question, and it's about football.
I was gonna say, like, I know you're a Lions fan. I know I've been seeing your Instagram stories. You're putting the final score up and everything. Like you have to. This has to be the most excited you ever been as a Lions fan. All we know here in Chicago is pain as well. So like, I feel like we need to come up with a Lions Bears bet or something like that.
A wager of
some. How many points do you want to give the Bears?
How many points do I want to give the Bears?
A lot.
The spread? Are we
at least the spread, right? Might need it.
A touchdown, 7 points. I don't know.
It's been better to see Fields throw the ball a little bit though. Like I got to watch that game on Thursday night, and Fields looked outstanding. I thought.
Yeah,
like he looked really good. And granted, DJ Moore helped him on that out route at the end of the game, but like DJ looked Fields looked comfortable and confident out there. Man, that was fun to see. Both quarterbacks that night looked really good. I thought
that's what we want to see.
I will say I did enjoy watching the Lions beat the Packers on primetime. I did.
No, we had a great first half. I tell you what though, when the Packers came out and went right down the field, got the 2 point. I think we went 3 and out on the subsequent drive. Packers go right back down again and score. Like I was at my buddy's house and there were 4 of us and we were all suffering from PTSD. We thought we were losing that football game.
Yeah, I was just 100%. Happy to see I was just happy to see the Lions and Rodgers Packers career.
Oh, that too.
That was fine with me.
That was my favorite part of last season for sure.
How are we feeling? How are we feeling about the Bears, guys?
I don't know.
That's a question you have to ask me after Sunday, man. Because I don't want to get reeled all the way back in, but I basically kind of am.
Give me like 6 more weeks.
Right?
Say what?
You guys got Minnesota this Sunday, right?
We do. We do have the Vikings this week.
No Jefferson either. So
no Jefferson. Yeah.
Could be big. We'll see.
We'll see.
Give me like 6 more weeks, and I'll have a better answer for you.
Is that in Minnesota?
No, it's here.
Right here, Soldier Field.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Don't jinx it. Knock on some wood. Knock on wood.
I'll tell you what, guys. I'm going to be absolutely insufferable this year as a Lions fan just because I just turned 26, and this is the first time I've watched stress-free football in my life. Right? Like we're not mapping out how we're going to come back in the last 25 minutes of game time. We're not mapping it out anymore. We're not down 3 scores and 2 points and you know what I mean? Like we're not staging the massive comebacks anymore. It's been God, I hate to rant about the Lions here on the Chicago podcast, but like, man, the way Goff is coming, like, I could not be a bigger supporter of Goff, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but like that dude, the way he handled coming from LA to Detroit, like I feel like for a 1-1, it'd been really easy to just kind of roll over and die, especially with the history and the what had been the established culture with the Lions. Like it would have been really easy for him to just kind of roll over, but the way he's kind of taken it.
Yeah,
allowed himself to feel ownership of it and really turn into a leader for that team. Like that's been so cool. That's been so cool to see.
Well,
we're happy you get some
you,
joy out of football this season.
For you, I'm happy the Lions are good. For you, that's it.
The Buccaneers have more NFC North titles than the Lions, and I'd like to see that change. I'd really like to see that change.
Absolutely. All right. Well, when the Lions come to Chicago or something, maybe I know it's in the off season, so maybe if you ever, I know you come to the city like once or twice in the winter.
Yep.
Let's link up or something.
Maybe we'll get you out here for a tailgate.
Yeah.
Never know.
I don't know if we're doing a tailgate for the
potentially.
Bears.
We'll see.
We'll see. Anyway, man, it's always good catching up, talking to you. Probably have you be in your probably be texting you when spring rolls around, and maybe Ryan will run into you again at spring training.
That'd be cool. I look forward to it, Ryan.
All right, man.
All right, man. It's always good seeing you, man.
Thanks, Max.
It.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Have a good one more.
All right, that was Max Bain.
We should have asked him if he is in the market for a new used vehicle.
If he is in the market for a new or used vehicle, he'd need to check out Ray Chevy.
Exactly.
Are you in the market for a new or used vehicle? If you are, then we have some great news for you because Ray Chevy in Fox Lake has just joined the CHGO team. We were talking to them at Ray, and they have this pledge called the Ray Price Promise. It's a guarantee that the price you see online is the price you pay when you go into the dealership. They found that in many cases, other dealers will raise the price on you when you come into the dealership, saying things like, are you a recent college grad? Are you active in the military? Are you a farmer? And in most cases, the answer will be no. And that's when the other dealers will raise the price on you, saying the price online included limited rebates that you do not qualify for. Well, at Ray, that is not the case. The price you see online is the price you pay with no add-ons to the price ever. In fact, Ray will do everything possible to find additional savings for you, which may make the price lower than you see online. As one of the top-selling dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. And right now, you can save big at Ray Chevy during their Truck or Treat savings event because 0% is back and now available on new Silverado trucks, the perfect tailgate vehicle. So come on into Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake and find the vehicle you've been searching for. And best of all, pay zero hidden fees with the Ray Price Promise. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. Serving the community since 1963. Find new roads.
Find new roads.
There you go.
Stuckey does that ad so much better than me and you both.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Hopefully he's back tomorrow. Barb was like asking about him in the chat.
He's fine.
He's fine, but we do miss him. We need
miss
him
on
here.
the show.
He's at home right now, not feeling great. Maybe I know when I'm at home and not feeling great, I still can't get off CHGO Sportsbook app.
That's true.
The new Illinois app.
I mean, for you just won't even leave the bed. You just have CHGO Sportsbook all day.
Yeah. I mean, not only is the sportsbook great, the casino and resort out in Las Vegas is awesome. I was lucky enough to get to go there with Nick Moriano and Sean Anderson this year. Shout out to CHGO for basically dragging me there. Big of them, credit to them. The stadium swim, it's what they call it. It's like this big bunch. There's like 4 or 5 pools with all these chairs you can sit in and watch all these different screens outside in their resort. The hype lives up. CHGO is awesome. But on top of all the stuff in Vegas and their app, they don't limit players based on their winning. So if you get on a hot streak and you do really well, they don't take away some of the boosts or the incentives that other people who might not be doing as well. They don't take that away from you. They're equal with everyone, which I love because some other sports books aren't like that, right?
Love that. On
top of their customer service, a lot of other books, they use chat bots. They don't. You talk to a real person, right? And it just makes the process so much easier when you might have an issue, right? So Download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, text GAMB to 833-234, or visit areyourreallywinning.com. And one might say, yes, I really am winning because all I do is win bets.
There may be props on Connor Bedard on that Circa Sportsbook as well. I believe
First
we got word on
game
that.
of his career tonight, right?
Yeah, tonight, Connor Bedard in Pittsburgh, I want to say.
In Pittsburgh? Yeah, that's where the Hawks guys are.
Believe they'll have goal and shot props for him. So if you're a big believer in Connor Bedard, you might want to check out Circa and see what they got for him.
If you're like me, and admittedly, I'm never going to sit on this podcast and tell you all that I'm some diehard hockey fan. But if you're like me, maybe you'll watch the postseason tonight, because the postseason in baseball so far has been awesome.
Yeah.
And you can.
Besides the fact that the wild cards were all sweeps,
yeah,
could use another day of baseball, but
I've just enjoyed.
The games have been good.
Yeah, the games have been good, and then you've also just gotten some the upsets.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers now down 0-2 to the Diamondbacks, and Baltimore's down 0-2 to the Rangers.
Yep.
Atlanta coming to life when they absolutely had to. Austin Riley saving the year for them basically last night. That was a great game. I've enjoyed watching postseason so far. I don't know about y'all, but yeah. I mean, I think for me it's been fun to watch, but it really does it continuously just keeps nagging me that the Cubs could be one of these
Here,
teams.
look at Evil Wax had a comment that might make you feel better.
After watching the Diamondbacks dominate the Brewers and Dodgers in the postseason, I don't feel as bad about the Cubs losing 6 or 7.
They're very clearly a good team.
Yeah.
And they're getting hot at the right moment. Obviously, like that kind of stuff helps with baseball, because a hot team can beat really any team at any time. We've seen that
We saw
the
the
last
Cubs
few
be
years.
like that.
We saw the Phillies ride a hot streak almost to a World Series title last year. So the Diamondbacks are a good team. So the fact that, I think we look back at the season, no one expected the Cubs to drop 6 or 7 in a week and a half span.
Yeah.
But they were also, the D-backs were a good team. And they've been a good team all year. They weren't a surprise contender. They were in first place in the West for a long time. So, but the D-backs going up on the Dodgers, 2-0 right now in that series. Surprise, but also you look at it that's a good team. It's not the biggest shock in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I would say after I watched them do what they did against the Cubs, that I firmly believe that maybe they could be a surprise team in the postseason this year to make some noise. Did I think that they would be up 2-0 on the Dodgers in the NLDS? No, but I did think that the moment that I saw they're going to be matched up with Milwaukee, I was like, they're winning that series. There's no way Milwaukee's winning that series. And what happened? They swept them on the road. I think one reason that I will say that I do like Arizona is that they built what they got a lot of the way the Cubs did in going into the golden era. Corbin Carroll, first round draft pick, not even a top 5, top 10 guy. He was like a top 20 guy. I think he was 16th or 17th overall in the 2019 draft. So he wasn't even considered one of the best players in the draft. But to this point, outside of Adley Rutschman and Bobby Witt Jr., I guess, he's been right up there with them.
Yeah.
Obviously, coming in this year, the best prospect in baseball. He's a rookie.
And lived up to it.
And he's lived up to it. He's not playing like a rookie, man. The dude has been red hot at the plate. Yeah. He is the guy that I feel like he's the guy I hope PCA turns out to be. Because he's a corner outfielder. I do think that PCA will probably be a better defensive outfielder than him, because he's going to play center most of his career. But he's the same type of hitter in terms of he can hit to all fields. He puts the bat on the ball, the left-handed bat. I think Carroll's obviously shown some power, and I think PCA has a lot to go to be able to develop that kind of power. But they put him at the top of the lineup. He's a guy that he's batting first or second in the lineup every game, and he sets the tone for them. He sets the tone for guys like Ketel Marte and Tommy Pham and Christian Walker. That's what we're hoping PCA is going to be on top of the defense. So he's I am envisioning that PCA is somewhat like him. And if he is, that will help make the Cubs a way better team for years to come.
Yeah, and I wrote about PCA on Friday over at ALLCITY.com. You can go check that out if you haven't yet. But there were like pretty clear holes as far like offensively this season. I mean, he didn't have the biggest sample size, so I can't say for sure like he wasn't ready. The opportunities he was given did not look great offensively. He's obviously going to be a tremendous defender. Like he has an 80 grade defense as a prospect right now. Like that's a very rare grade for a reason. Like he's could be a generational defensive center fielder. Will the bat catch up is the question right now, right? Because he has pretty much at every level was slow to start. As when he got there was a little bit slow to start, quickly adjusted and got things going. And ended up hitting pretty well at every level. The Cubs are, like you said, they're obviously going to hope that he can do that. If he can, if that bat can, it's never going to be. I don't believe at the moment what he could be defensively as far as ceiling goes. But if he could be a good hitter on top of like the defensive just prowess that he has, I mean that could be your leadoff hitter, a guy with the kind of speed. A solid bat, if he can get a high on base percentage, like that's the kind of guy you might want as your leadoff hitter going forward. I don't know if that's for sure what's going to happen. Obviously, like, there's no guarantee he's even on the opening day roster at this point. Again, because we saw things and he acknowledged things that he needs to work on before he's before he's good to go. Right? There's still things that he told me he wants to improve on. So he obviously has to put in the work this offseason to even be battling for an opening day roster spot. But I don't think he thinks, and I don't think the Cubs think that even if he's not on the opening day roster, it's not far behind. Right. So, you're comparing him to Corbin Carroll in a way, potentially, right? Like,
it's a high ceiling to put someone at. Considering how well he's playing.
But it's like if he could get to that level, that is a very good player for you, and he's a top 15 to 10-ish prospect, depending where you're looking for a reason. He has the kind of ceiling that he could be a really good player for the Cubs. Might just take a little more time, but if he can get there.
He's 21, 22
years
old?
He's 22 in March, right? If he can get there, that's huge for this team, and they're like goals for the immediate future.
For sure. And another thing I didn't even mention about Carroll, he's like, I think statistically the fastest guy in baseball. Like he gets on first base and he's on second almost immediately too. So, and PCA has lightning speed as well. So like I think there's I'm not saying that PCA is Corbin Carroll. I'm just saying that they're similar types of players. It's kind of like how I said last year. People forget this, that I did say that Nico Horner and Tim Anderson are very similar type players. But I do think that Nico Horner surpassed that by now. Didn't mean to throw that shot out there, but anyway. But yeah, no, I think that there's a lot to like with the Diamondbacks in terms of like they have so many young players. Jordan Lawler's getting the PCA treatment in the playoffs, right? For the Diamondbacks, he's like their top prospect at the end of the year, and he came in off the bench to play defense or do the to pinch run. He's another guy that they probably are really high on going into next year. But again, their team gives me so many of the golden era Cubs that so many young guys all came up at once and they just play well together. And could tell Marte might be like their version of Rizzo since he'd been there for so long through some bad years and that. But for me tonight, I actually think the Twins are going to win tonight against Houston. I like their pitching matchup with Sonny Gray over Christian Javier. And it's sad for me to say, but I think Baltimore's done.
Feels that way.
Yeah.
It feels that way. I mean, they were a fun team all year. I mean, ended up being the best team in the American League. And sometimes, the playoffs are a crapshoot, really. Like that, I think that's what everyone says. It's just like anything can happen in the postseason, which is an argument that had the Cubs gotten in there, you never know, right? Yeah. I don't think they would have made much noise. I think it was kind of the end of the season, even if they had got in there. But you never know because anything can really happen in a wild card, a best of 3 or division series best of 5. Like anything can happen. We're seeing it right now. Yeah. Like I'm looking at that Phillies game, the Phillies Braves game, and like that last week of the season, we saw how that Braves offense is just relentless and just does not give up.
It doesn't give up,
and
man.
it's so good up and down the order. And you saw it, like you just the home runs. I mean, it was just like a Braves type game, right? Like the Phillies were up, 4-0, and you're like, well, they're gonna, the Braves are not out of it. The Braves are definitely not done, and they're definitely not done because they're not gonna go down 2-0 to the Phillies.
Sure, for about 6 innings, I was like, wow, Philly's really gonna come in Atlanta and take the first two because Zach Wheeler was dealing. He had a no-hitter. I think that they left Wheeler in an inning too long, and that's what led to the comeback because he allowed 1 run, and then the Phillies were unable to answer. So credit to the Braves bullpen, but I mean, I the way the game was managed in the back half, I feel like is a big reason why the Phillies lost the game, and that's playoff baseball. The manager's going to get credit when they win, and they're going to get a lot of the blame for when they lose. And to me, them leaving Wheeler in the game for an extra inning was the wrong move because then Darno hits that 2-run homer, makes it 4-3, and next thing you know, the Braves have a 1-run deficit. They're at home, the crowd is rocking and doing that stupid chant and whatever they call that. And the Braves looked like the Braves last night. So now I'm interested to see how the Phillies respond. And also, I wish we got 7 games of this series. This is the best series.
It'll be a fun series.
This is the best series. The Phillies and the Braves, the best series. It might be the best series of the entire playoffs, in my opinion.
It'll be a fun last 3 games for that series for sure. If it gets there.
Yeah. You know what? I will, like, when I watch playoff baseball tonight, I will sit on my couch, and I am going to crack open. I don't have it next to me, but I will be cracking open a nice Goose Island beer. CHGO Sports by Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer since 1988. They got the Oktoberfest, the Beer Hug family. We got a ton of the Beer Hug family in this office because they're like 24-ounce cans and, like, they're high percentage, but, like, I'm not going to have one at, like, 1 p.m. I'd rather have one, like, at 7 p.m. when I'm about to watch the game at home, right? So I need to take some home, honestly. That's probably what I should do. The 312 Wheat Ale, the Full Pocket Pilsner is my favorite one to have in the summer. We got the tailgate, the Bears tailgate this weekend against the Vikings, right? Bears 3-point underdogs last I checked. Anyway, come to the tailgate.
Oh, yeah.
And there's plenty of Goose Island there. It's,
whatever your heart desires.
Right.
Goose Island provides.
No better way to start your day on a Sunday and hopefully a Bears win than with a bunch of Goose Island. So grab your Ultra Fresh brewery exclusive beers at Goose Island Original Brew House on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer.
Ryan, will your dad be at the tailgate?
Potentially.
I like Ryan's dad.
Yeah. Love Ryan. Kidding me? Love Ryan's dad. That's why I'm asking.
Look at
My
me,
favorite guy to hang out with.
He watches our show a lot, so I hope that he heard me say that. But also, like,
me too.
when Ryan's dad came to our one Cubs takeover we had this year, it was big of me to go and go talk to him before I even talked to Ryan.
That's true. That did happen.
Right, because you hate Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. We've made that clear on the show.
People are saying,
Ryan, are you joking? Ryan's dad's the GOAT. He's my favorite guy to hang out with at any CHGO function, whether it be the tailgate, the Bears draft party. He's the GOAT.
Come and hang out with Ryan's dad.
So much
Moriano's
love
dad. Also, Moriano's dad is my favorite
Mo?
on the softball field.
It's Big Mo over there.
He's the GOAT.
But nothing goes better with tailgates and Goose Islands than Foco. Go get fitted out in the best sports gear around. Hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. It's baseball season. Aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, everything you need for a game. When the sun comes out eventually over here, you're going to need that stuff. You get set decorations. Foco has donated a few awesome pieces for our sets, so go show them some love. Check out Foco.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-pre-sale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off, like our good friend Law.
These are sick. You fit 13 Goose Island beers in these overalls.
13 Goose Island beers.
And the only reason I know that is because our friends from PHLY posted a video on Instagram of one of the people there fitting 13 beers in the overalls.
If you want to fit 13 beers in a pair of overalls, go to Foco. You'll get them there.
I'm wearing those overalls to the Cubs convention this year. I have decided that.
My dad just texted me saying, "Same here. I love CHGO functions." So
Yes.
Shout out, man.
he was listening.
Much love, Mr. Herrera.
All right. We had like 4 minutes, so
2 minutes.
there's no better thing to do at the end of the show than look back at all the fun times we've had, the friends we made along the way, as one might say. So I tweeted out today from the CHGO Cubs account on this day in 2015, the Cubs beat the Cardinals. I believe it was 6-3 behind a Jorge Soler 2-run homer. And I believe it was Kyle Hendricks' first career postseason start.
This is the anniversary?
Yes.
Who would have thought when Kyle Hendricks, I mean, first of all, just like the trade itself, but like just him beginning of his career.
The Ryan Dempster trade, right?
Yeah. Just that he would end up pitching arguably the two biggest games in Cubs history. Game 6 NLDS and Game 7 World Series in 16. Like, so if it, I mean, I'm trusting you that we're not letting the facts get in the way of a good story. That it was the anniversary of his first career start, postseason start. But I guess that's just the beginning of what so far has turned out to be a pretty solid, impressive postseason career for Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah. I'm looking it up just to confirm, but I'm pretty sure it was okay.
October 10th, 2015 at St. Louis, 4 2/3, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts though. So good for Kyle.
Yeah. It was like kind of his own little coming out party, even though it wasn't like the greatest start in the world. But like, the Cubs actually lost Game 1 of that series. They got shut out, so there was a lot of honestly, in some aspect, a lot of pressure on him to go out there in Game 2 and keep them in the game. And the Cubs put up a 5 spot behind the Jorge Soler 2-run homer. I think Fowler had a good game. Montero had a good game. Yeah. They went on to win 6-3, and you went back to Wrigley, and we'll talk about those games the rest of the week. Also, Doug Glanville, he retweeted us today because we tweeted the video of him hitting the RBI triple from 2003 in the NLCS against the Marlins. He had a game-winning triple in the 11th inning in Miami, I guess it technically was, on this date in 2003. So I look forward to when we're talking about new playoff moments for the Cubs. That's all I can say. But at least we can always remember the good times and the friends we made along the way, guys. Right?
20 years ago, man. That was I was 6, I think, during that playoff. Or going on. No, I had just turned 7. No.
2003.
Yeah, I just turned
You
7.
guys you're acting like there's
run.
zero playoff memories since 2003.
But it's like today
What happened?
specifically.
What did happen in 2016? If playing the quarter.
Well,
earlier?
okay, on this date in 2016, Jake Arrieta hit a homer. He
Against
hit a
Mad
3-run homer
Bum.
against the Giants, and Chris Bryant hit a game-tying 2-run
I was
homer.
ready to just run into traffic
and
after
they-
the Jake Arrieta home run. I was like,
Yeah,
there's
it was
no
like
way they're losing
It was
this
the
game.
first home run that Madison Bumgarner ever gave up to a pitcher.
I do remember.
believe.
Yeah, that's
Then
I remember
Arrieta,
that.
or then the Chris Bryant homer in the top of the ninth, and then they lost it on the Colin Gillespie triple or whatever.
Yeah, they lost in like 13 innings or whatever.
Oh,
Albert
right.
Almora had
That-
one of the few good moments of his Cubs tenure with an incredible catch out in right field.
That
I was
one
gonna say,
really-
people
that's
forget
where
about
it's-
that game because they lost.
Yeah.
That's where it
I
really
didn't forget
started to
about
sink
it.
in.
It's like they lost the game.
That
so
feeling started to sink in because all of a sudden it was 2-1.
Yeah.
But they had, if they get back to Game 5, it's Cueto again, and then
Against
it
Lester.
was still a weird. It was still an even year. The Giants' luck.
Oh,
it was
yeah, the
freaky.
even
It
year
was freaky.
bit.
It was really
Yeah.
freaky. And then the next game is when the Cubs buried them. But that whole game, it was like impending Game 5 back at Wrigley. That's why it was so scary.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That'll be coming. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
That's my
Tomorrow
number
we can
one
talk
game
about
besides Game 7.
how the next game went. But yeah, there was fun moments of that game.
Oh, for sure.
And yes, there are fun playoff moments that we've discussed.
Well, we're getting to them.
We're getting to
It's
them.
only if you're
We're
looking
getting
at
to
16. It's only the
Yeah.
NLDS. Like
Right.
It's gotta.
Right.
You got a bunch more games to come.
So, again,
Barb really wants my dad to come on the show. I don't know if I want him to come on.
Barb, I appreciate Barb for always being here and just giving us the most. Honestly, she is some of the best entertainment.
Yeah,
When we're the ones entertaining y'all, like.
we're trying to.
Okay, so what? We're about done. So I do want to remind y'all if you're not already. I think I saw my guy Dubs in the chat asking if you're a diehard, if you get a picture with Ryan's dad. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. But yes, if you become a diehard, you can get as many pictures with Ryan's dad at our tailgates, or if you just see him on the street and be like, "Hey, you're Ryan's dad."
No, if you become a diehard and show me proof, I will get you a picture with my dad at one of our functions.
Yeah, there you go. So how to become a diehard? Well, we got podcasts and live shows every day here on CHGO Sports YouTube channel. That's free, honestly. But on top of all the post-game shows. But if you become a diehard, you get 20% off events like our tailgate that we have this weekend. Merch. I know we dropped some new Bear shirts recently, some new Blackhawk shirts recently. You can get this hoodie. You can get this shirt that Ryan's wearing, the Skyline shirt. That's a classic. If you become a diehard, you get the first shirt free. You get when you sign up, right? Which is that's my favorite part about becoming a diehard. And then on top of it, you get premium written content from whoever you like, whether it's from the Bears, it'd be Hogue and Carm and Moriano. And then for us, it's Herrera and Jared Willis sometimes, and throughout all of CHGO. So there is free content you can read, but also you get some just for diehards. So because you're special. And then obviously, I know Gary, you're in the chat. People love the Discord. People love the Discord.
CHGO Lounge.
You get put in the CHGO Discord, and you can be like everyone during the Cubs season. When things are going good, everyone is vibing and happy, and we are about to go 162-0. And then when things are going bad, it's like, why did we do this? Why did we do that? Why is Jake Slaughter not on this roster? There's all kinds of there's all kinds of vibes, right? So all of it can be yours if you become a diehard. So sign up today. Anything else before we get out here, Mr. Herrera?
Thanks for hopping on with us, everyone. Thanks to Max Bain again for
shout out to Max
coming on the show.
He's a great friend. If this is the first time you watch our show and Max and seeing Max for the first time, the reason we had him on is A, he's our friend. B, he's a good dude. And 3, whenever he makes it to the Cubs, we want to be the first people to be like, we always believed first. So
and 4, he's also been in this system for a few years now. Like he knows a lot of the guys that are coming up. So a lot of the guys you have heard of, like he's probably played with most of them.
That's it.
So that
is a really good. Is a lot of really good insight.
Yeah, good insight on that kind of stuff.
And personally, I think he could have a career in like what we do once he's done.
Knowledgeable,
friendly,
easy to root for.
Easy to root for sure. Okay,
120 tomorrow.
120 tomorrow. My guy, Rich Biesterfield, who's been in the chat, he's going to join us tomorrow.
Ooh,
first time guest. I met him in Arizona for the first time in person when I went out there and watched the Cubs break my heart twice. But yeah, he's going to be on remotely with us tomorrow at 120. Hopefully Stuck is back. But yeah, we'll see you then. Thanks for jumping in, watching CHGO Cubs Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow. Fly W.
We all silly like the mayor.